What is good, folks? How we doing? Hope everyone is well. It is a Saturday, and of course, we are back. We are live. We are fresh off a concert yesterday, so that is why I didn't post any content. I mean, I did post a little clip from the Fall Out Boy show, which was great. By the way, I got a haircut. We are live. I mean, things are good, right? Just had some Chinese food. Can't go wrong right now. We'll be going live later tonight we'll just stay live, but we'll pivot over to Kick when we're gaming a little bit. But I figured we'd start the night off with JE Live on both platforms, both YouTube and Kick. So appreciate you guys being here. Mark Xavier asks, how was the show? The show was good. Thank you for asking, Mark Xavier. Appreciate you over on Kick. Yeah, a lot of fun. I love pyrotechnics, and I feel like with rock concerts, for whatever reason, bands are going away from pyrotechnics, and obviously there have been cases in the past, and there's a lot of reasons. Obviously, Great White, if you guys know that. Unfortunately, people, were killed because of pyrotechnics, but also it was a small venue, and they shouldn't have been doing it anyway, and they all got in trouble legally. So that's why they're going away from it. But Fall Out Boy last night, I mean, you got the bassist Pete Wentz has a freaking flamethrower attached to his bass. I mean, it was just so freaking cool. Bring Me the Horizon opened up for them. They were great. So yeah, I don't want to bore you guys because I know not everybody in here is, interested in the concert. But I just figured I'd let you guys know how that went. Been a fun year of concerts, but how's it going? Hick, Ricky, Young and Isaac, King Ben, Edwin, Rusty, how you doing? So, yeah, the reason I wanted to go live and the reason why the title is the way the title is because I've been thinking about three things in regards to the Rams. First off, Tutu Atwell, okay? I've been reading reports from Jordan Rodriguez, who's doing a fantastic job of covering camp, and I'll tell you right now, I think Tutu Atwell, no matter how much people don't want to admit it, I think Tutu Atwell is going to be really good. Okay, I'm here to say that. I'm here to say I believe Tutu Atwell is going to be really good. Okay, the reason why I believe that, first off, Atwell is learning how to blend into the offense. So what I mean by that is it's really important in this league, that you're able to do the little things, right? You're able to do the little things, and I think with Tutu Atwell, not only is he able to do the little things, not only is he able to, despite the fact he's 5'8", 5'9", he's able to separate. He's able to go up and high point a football. He's able to finish through contact. Not only all of that, but he's learning how to play all three positions, in the wide receiver room, which makes him interchangeable. And the big reason why it's so imperative for him to be able to do that and be able to stay on the field is because with Sean McVay's offense, okay, it's very complicated, but it's also very simple. And they're not doing a ton from play to play in the receiving room, that will completely detract from what's going on. So the key here, right, is that McVay gets these guys to blend in. So the slightest difference, the slightest manipulation of a route tree, a route concept, whatever, throws the defenses off. That's the entire point of this offense, is that they're focusing on the little nuanced things that maybe you and I aren't even going to pick up on, but a defense might. And it's going to give them problems if they don't, adapt to it. So it's really fascinating because when you hear things like, Tutu Atwell, is working on leverage and working on, breaking off the line of scrimmage and things like that. And he's gotten so much better and just he's turning heads in camp. I mean, let's be honest here, guys, really the battle from what it sounds like, and this is crazy, I didn't think we'd be talking about this. The battle for wide receiver 3 right now is Puka Nacua versus Tutu Atwell. Okay, Skoranek is down the rotation. Okay, Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson have done an outstanding job so far, but they're not in that category. Okay, That's the fascinating thing, is that is Tutu Atwell versus Puka Nacua. Really good sign for Puka Nacua long term that he comes in and he's a late 5th round pick. And now this guy's fighting for the 3rd receiver role. Like, that's a really good sign if you're a Puka Nacua fan and, you know, if you're a fan of seeing something new. But Tutu Atwell was invested highly in the 2nd round. A lot of people, including myself, thought at the time, thank you so much for subscribing, Derek. I can actually read that. Barely, but I can. You know, people thought that it was a reach. Okay, including myself. At the time, I thought it was a reach. I told Tutu to his face because I wanted to be honest with him. Thank you, Crystal, for the subscribe there. I wanted to be honest with him straight up before I had him on my show. I wanted to tell him, look, you know, it's going to come out. I did not think you deserved to be a 2nd round pick. I thought you went way too high. You know, and he appreciated the honesty, but I was just going to be honest with him because, like, you know, what kind of person would I be if I let, you know, Tutu on my show and I blow smoke up his ass and I'm talking about how great he is and he doesn't know how I truly felt. I don't want to come off as like, you know, I'm a fake dude, because I'm not. I'll tell you how I felt. But no, I mean, I think I've grown to like Tutu more and more and more. And I think as soon as they drafted him, going back and be able to watch all the games that he played at, you know, Louisville, I saw a guy that just wasn't your stereotypical 5'8", 5'9" receiver, right? I saw a guy that wasn't your stereotypical 5'8", 5'9" receiver. That's just a gadget guy. That's just a speedy, short dude. Love my short kings as a 5'8" guy. But let's be honest here. There's way too many of these receivers. So what makes you unique, Tutu Atwell, Chartarius Atwell? What makes you unique? And what makes him unique is the fact that he has things to his game that most of those stature, most of those, you know, speed or everything type of guys don't have. Route running, possession, ball tracking, going up and not being afraid to play bigger than you truly are. The guy plays like he's 6'1" when the ball's in the air. You don't believe me? Go back and look. If the ball's in the air and he's got a 50-50 opportunity, he is going to come down with it more than you would think for a guy who is 5'9" and $160. But he makes it work. And so it's very funny because now you have Atwell, you have Kupp, you have Jefferson, and maybe, just maybe, everyone is sleeping on this receiving room. They don't see the big star like usual. Normally the Rams, they got Cooper Kupp, Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods. They got Cooper Kupp, they got Brandon Cooks, they got Robert Woods. They got Cooper Kupp, they got Deshaun Jackson, they got Odell Beckham Jr. and Robert Woods. Obviously never got a chance to see all that, sadly. But here's the thing. Okay, notice the big names in there. Sammy Watkins, Deshaun Jackson, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks. Who cares about the big names? Because at the end of the day, folks, all you should give a crap about is production. And I think Tutu Atwell is going to have a better year than Sammy Watkins did in 2017 with the Rams. Like, and Sammy Watkins is by far a bigger name and what he's done in his career. So that's what I'll say in regards to that, is that this is a guy that's not just focused on being a deep threat. He's not just focused on, you know, pushing his way down the field, where you have to make it, guys. Think about this. If Tutu Atwell is on your roster and he is starting and he is coming off the line of scrimmage, you have to make it so, okay, all right, Tutu Atwell, when he comes out, he's not just going to run straight down the field. He's not just going to take a bubble screen. As a matter of fact, Tutu Atwell can run any play on the offensive line. Like, think about it. If he's coming off coming out of the slot, or he's coming out, off the boundary or whatever, that's what keeps defenses honest. Because if Tutu Atwell comes in and every play you're running straight down the field, all right, well, now we know that's all he does. Right? So that's the miracle of doing all of this, is that by doing all of this, Tutu Atwell essentially is building a rapport with everybody around him, but he's also building a reputation like, guys, this is how Marquise Brown exists in the NFL. This is why he's not another John Ross. What do you think sets these guys apart? It may sound unfair. It may not be unfair. But at the end of the day, if you are a 5'7", 5'8", 5'9" receiver, you have to show you're more than just a speedy guy over the top. Because congratulations, there's 250 of those guys, and they're not in the NFL, or they just left the NFL because they can't work past that. They're a 5 or a 6 on a roster. You have to be more than that. And so that is the thing that has me excited about Atwell, is that he's working on the little things. They're admitting that he's not only working on the little things, he's gotten much better. He's taken a step forward. And so that's a good sign. It's why when I compare Tutu Atwell to Marquise Hollywood Brown, I mean it. Because the reason why Brown is the number 1 receiver is not just because of his speed. It's not that at all. He's a number 1 receiver because he worked on the little things. He worked on becoming a route runner. He worked on his hands. He worked on using leverage, okay? He's not just speed. Speed is great until that's all you have, and then it's not very great, is it? It's just like size. You know, size is great in college basketball, right? You get a 7'2" center. Yeah, he's going to bully a lot of the 6'7", 6'8" centers, no? But the problem is when that guy goes to the NBA, guess what? Everyone's tall. So you have to have more than a skill set of just being tall. Size is not a skill. And as great as speed is great when you're Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill is a phenomenal receiver. He developed as a route runner. He developed as a guy that can go up and get the ball. He developed as somebody that can be a natural hands catcher, guy that can make plays after the catch. He's not just speed. But John Ross is only known for his speed. And so that's the thing there. So very, very excited about Tutu Atwell. I think everyone should be. You know, he's giving me some really positive vibes right now. I'm feeling really good about his look. In addition to that, guys, I'll also say this. I'm really excited about Puka Nacua, who's fighting with Tutu Atwell for the 3rd spot. That's a really good sign. That also could mean that we don't see him in the preseason, though. If he's fighting for that 3rd job, we might not see him in preseason. We'll see. We'll see, but I don't know if we will. I would love to see him in preseason. He would definitely start if they did, but we'll see. If he's going to be that big of a contributor this year, they might be like, we'll wait it out. I think he needs the preseason reps, if you ask me. I think it would be a mistake not to play him. And normally I'm all for, dodging the whole injury and everything and, running the risk of preseason, whatever. But so in conclusion to that point, and that took up the first 15 minutes of the show, Tutu Atwell, I think, is him. I think Tutu Atwell is going to be really, really good. And, this year might be an introduction to that, where we're talking about a 600, 700-yard season, 6 to 8 touchdowns, somebody like that. And then maybe next year we're talking about a 1,000-yard receiver, or he just dives right into being a 1,000-yard receiver this year. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I think people are really underestimating the power of him and what he can truly do in this offense, and how, the little things that he's working on with, albeit one of the best wide receiver coaches in the game, in Eric Yarber, he's making it so, look, if I'm on the field, or Van is on the field, or Cooper Kupp's on the field, we're all capable of winning in every different way. And that's important. Moving on, chat, I want to talk about Kyren Williams before we get to the Pivot podcast. Kyren Williams, right? Kyren Williams is somebody who I've been very high on, top 4 running back coming out of the draft. Obviously, my co-host on Downtown Rams has been very high on him, Alexis Kraft. That's like her guy. But I actually really like his fit with the Rams. I've been saying over and over again, it's not Zach Evans. It wasn't going to be Sony Michel. It wasn't going to be Ronnie Rivers. Kyren Williams is going to be that number 2 running back, and he is very firmly there as number 2. Royce Freeman isn't taking that spot. And sure enough, he catches a touchdown down the sideline, deep touchdown from Matthew Stafford. So you love seeing those wheel routes there that they're using that. Kyren's had a good camp. Fans have said that. Jordan has said that. And now Matthew Stafford has come out and said it. People were like, who's turning heads? Like, Matthew Stafford's getting asked, like, who's really stepping up? Who's taking a big leap? And he said Kyren Williams. So, look, Kyren Williams being utilized in the passing game. He can run the ball. He's great in pass pro. Then you have Cam Akers, who, this team's very excited about. I really like what we're seeing with the offense. And I think that's a big reason why they went offense heavy, because they knew last year was a fluke. But now I just wanted to hit on that real quickly because we move on to the Pivot podcast part of the show. And I wanted to touch on this because people asked me, hey, did you see Sean McVay on the Pivot podcast? And I said, yeah, I did. Okay. Sean McVay is freaking awesome, man. He is a badass. I just love the guy personally. He's always been my guy. Those of you who know, I've been a little critical of him, and I think we all have to a degree because we just want like the best. Sean McVay is going to be the best coach in the NFL in 2 years' time. McVay, I knew coming out of Washington, and if you guys have been following since the Downtown Rams lives on Facebook days, then you know how I am. I've been pushing for McVay since Jeff Fisher was still coaching the Rams. So when they got him, I was very excited. This has been my guy from the get-go. Hearing about everything he went through in that process was very interesting. First off, shout out to him, because Sean McVay knows he got more opportunities quicker than others because of who he was related to. Okay? People really bitch about nepotism in any industry. And I'm not saying you're wrong to do so, but hear me out when I say not everybody is unappreciative of those opportunities. I think far often than not, and I'm not somebody that is really I haven't like made a name for myself because my dad was in the industry or anything like that. I've had to work. I've had to carve out my own role, with the Rams community. You guys, I've had to build this from scratch. But I wouldn't have it any other way. And I don't look down on people that didn't have to work as hard as I did, so to speak, or other people because their dads were in the industry. My biggest thing is that listening to McVay talk about it and how, he knows John McVay, who coached the New York Giants. Fun fact, we found out on one of our kick streams that John McVay, actually, I think it was our watch party that was also on YouTube. So if you guys didn't see it, then I'll tell you right now. I found out that there was an Ellenbogen, Bill Ellenbogen, who I'm not related to, played under John McVay, Sean McVay's grandpa, on that Giants team. So the more you know. I thought that was kind of cool. I'll throw that out there. But anyway, point I'm making here. So you have John McVay, who coaches the Giants. He wins 5 Super Bowls with the San Francisco 49ers as an executive. So yes, Sean admits in the Pivot podcast, like, it's been a little easier for him than other people. Okay? That doesn't mean he didn't put in the work. And so that's the thing that I love about Sean McVay is, yes, okay, is he a beneficiary of the whole nepotism in the NFL? Yeah, I think it's fair to say it, but he admits that. But like he's saying, it would be unfair for him to not, go all out because of those opportunities and still work his tail off, which he did. He touches on how, he starts with the Buccaneers and then they hire, Raheem Morris, and then he basically gets let go. And he goes to the Florida Tuskers in the United Football League. He builds a rapport with, Jay Gruden there and Jim Haslett, former Rams interim head coach. And it's just really cool to hear him explain his story. Now, we can all go on Wikipedia or whatever and look it up. But it's just the way, like, he talks about certain aspects of that on the Pivot podcast. And I really enjoy that about him. I really do. And I feel like, there's something when somebody is appreciative of what they've been given, it says something about that person. And I really admire that about Sean McVay. I admire him about, the whole Rams thing. See, he takes an interview with the Rams. He takes an interview with the 49ers. The cool thing we find out is that Stan Kroenke didn't know if you wanted to hire him. Not like he was on the fence, like he just didn't know. Like he was like, we're going to sleep on it. But before that, Demoff was in charge of the hiring, and, Demoff was pretty sure he wanted to hire Sean McVay. And Kroenke said, well, we got to get him with somebody that we really trust and someone that's going to say, whether we should or not. And so he goes on to talk about the time Marshall Faulk, who is a Rams legend, and he's one of my all-time favorite players. And I would kill to have him on the show. But anyway, Marshall Faulk interviewed Sean McVay. Okay, they sat down at dinner and everything, and they talked ball. And Faulk went in saying to Kroenke that, basically, look, I think you should go out and get a veteran guy. I think you should get a guy with experience. But he wasn't against Sean. That's just what he thought. And so Sean won him over. And then, basically, Sean had an interview with the Niners, and it went really well. The Rams find out how well it went, and Sean didn't leave LA after that. So the whole thing with Kyle Shanahan, there's a snowstorm, or I forget what it was, but and he didn't mention this, but I remember this vaguely. There was a snowstorm, and the Rams ended up canceling the interview with Kyle Shanahan. So that's cool. That stuff is all cool. Then McVay goes on to talk about, everything from, how he had so much success early on that he almost feels like he didn't appreciate everything as much as the way this year that happened, the 5-12 season. He goes on to talk about how much he learned in that. And this is why, guys, I kept saying over and over again with McVay, just stick with him, because I'm not buying that he's retiring. I said over and over again, I'm being told he's not retiring. He's not retiring. He's not retiring. And so the thing with McVay is that I think what a lot of us fail to see, and then you listen to this and you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, is that Sean, let's call it like it is. Sean was just praised and so much success he had early on in his career that it's almost like he felt as though he wasn't allowed to have a down year. In the 2019 season, they're essentially 1 year away from making the playoffs, because for those of you who don't understand, the 9-7 season, they went above 500. They missed the playoffs. That's the last year of the 6-team format. They went to the 7-team next year. So anyway, point being, I think with all of that, this podcast with Fred Taylor and Ryan Clark and Channing Crowder, I just think they did such a nice job of just having a true conversation, allowing Sean to kind of really lay it all out there. Like, hey, I didn't feel like I was a good enough coach for our players last year. And remember, I think it was a few J Lives ago on stream, I said, the thing about having confidence is the people who look the most confident, the people who appear the most confident, are, believe it or not, the people that are the most vulnerable, right? Flawlessness doesn't look like confidence. It looks like fake, and it doesn't look transparent, because no one's flawless. No human is perfect. And so that's the thing I really liked about Sean McVay in this interview, is that he never once came off as fake. He kind of let it all hang out. And it's kind of like, I appreciated that about the interview and on the Pivot podcast, because the whole thing with 2021, talking to Odell, it was really cool for him to kind of throw Odell out there and give him some praise because, I think what was really cool about the whole situation with Odell Beckham Jr. is that we don't find this out until later, but they knew. Odell does the MRI in the Rams building, and they find out he doesn't have an ACL. So they sit down Odell in the meeting room with the doctor, and they're like, you don't have an ACL, and instead of OBJ getting all upset and being a diva like the media has portrayed him to be, he does the most un-Odell thing based on what the media has portrayed him over his entire career, which has been an absolute the media has pulled off a felony, basically, the way they've talked about Odell kind of unfairly. But, Odell said, all right, well, we're going to roll until, the wheels come off. So he knew. So Odell basically that his time with the Rams, his time in general, was going to be a little bit of a shaky one. Okay. Like, he knew he was on borrowed time and he pushed. The OBJ story is absolutely dope, Jack. I totally agree. And I just think it was really cool because Sean doesn't have to make Odell look like a champion like that, but he did by telling the truth, but being honest and getting to the nitty gritty details. And, I think that was a really marvelous thing, about the whole Odell story and everything. And look, okay, I understand that Odell's not a Ram anymore, but that is what legends are made of. And this is why I'm proud to still have my Odell Beckham Jr. number 3 jersey, and why I wouldn't trade it in for anybody is because, first off, I always remember the Super Bowl. But secondly, this guy just came in, put his head down. I've been a fan of him from afar for a while. Always felt he was overhated. And then to see him prove everyone wrong on the Rams, and then to find out all of this, it just goes to show you what kind of player and what kind of person he is. And that was before I got to interact with him. And I've only had good interactions with Odell. So maybe someday we'll get him on here. But no, really cool stuff. McVay talked about the young core group of guys and, how like he feels like this young crop of players has just really rejuvenated him and he's having fun again. This is not a sign of a coach that is about to retire after this season. And he even said it is way down the road. Sean McVay is not going to retire until far into the future. And that is a really good thing if you're a Rams fan to hear that. So if you haven't already, check out the Pivot Pod. I don't want to go too much on this, but I just wanted to give you my reaction, checking that out. Reading a bunch of material because I had a lot of time in the car on the way back from Buffalo. But, just really good stuff. And, yeah. And for those of you new here that are joining that weren't here earlier, I'll just say this because I see people asking about Tutu Atwell. Atwell is turning heads in camp. Okay. He's somebody that he's getting the hang of things. He's really starting to make an impact. He's playing all three positions on the offense. This is before Cooper Kupp went down with that hamstring. So this is the thing, is that what I was saying earlier is that when you have Tutu Atwell, you have Van Jefferson, you have Cooper Kupp, and all three of them have been developed in a way where they can play on in all three positions. They can rotate. They're always on the field. It makes the defense incredibly, unprepared, so to speak, for what's about to come. When Tutu Atwell stepped on the field last year, the Rams barely used him early in the season. So when he steps on the field, everyone keys in on him because he's only coming on the field to go straight down the field or get a bubble screen. But if you look towards the end of the season, that wasn't the case. He started playing more. Now it's not going to be the case at all. And so this is how, we talk about this being a chess game, a chess match when it comes to, guys like anybody in the NFL. Okay. 2 NFL teams is a chess match, right? But the beauty of it is that when you have receivers that have to keep the defense honest, there's no tells. And what I mean by that is sometimes a defense can cheat a little bit and be like, all right, Tutu Atwell is never on the field. So when he comes on the field, every time he's on the field, he's scoring touchdowns, right? Obviously, we're going to key in on that guy. But if Atwell's now on the field consistently, he's moving all over the field, now I don't have a tell. I don't know what's happening ahead of time. I can't cheat. And that's the beauty of it. Guys, that was a long rant at the beginning, opening segment, half of the show, basically. But if you guys like this so far, be sure to hit the thumbs up. We're trying to get to 100 every single live stream. That's our goal. We have 30 right now. We got 96 people in here on YouTube. On Kick, we also have people over there. So appreciate you guys. Mark Xavier on Kick. McVey got tired of people pushing the retirement narrative. Oh, he got very tired of it. He said it's not going to happen for a long time. So take that for what you will, but that doesn't sound like 5 years or 10 years. That sounds like 20 years down the road. Did not sound any bit close to Kick. Jolando is asking me to kick the Saints fan out of the chat. I would prefer we don't do that because here's the thing, okay? This is not a Rams-only channel. Everyone is welcome. We're going to be doing watch parties all year long. If someone wants to troll now, that doesn't mean that they don't belong in here because they're not doing anything wrong. If they're not offending anybody, if they're not being racist, sexist, anything like that, then I don't care if they're in the comments section. Leave it alone. But I'm not going to be kicking people out. You know, well, I wouldn't say he's spamming the chat. I've seen spamming. Spamming's like when you have 6 comments in a row. I know what you're saying, but how are we all doing, guys? How are we all doing? I thought I don't know if you caught us in our watch party. It was a lot of fun if you missed it. Really enjoyed. I mean, we talk about whatever, but it's while we're watching the Jets and Browns, and we'll be doing it for all that. But also on Bleacher Report, I'll be doing the Rams watch parties exclusively, so that'll be fun. Anthony says, feeling fine. I like it. I like it. Yeah, I'm feeling good about the season. I'm feeling very good about the season. We'll say that. How do I view the O-line? Well, I don't know if Nopum's going to start Pay, but I like it so far. I think Ankrum is a great sign that this team just truly wants to develop guys no matter where they're picked in the draft. And that's the beauty of it. Ankrum was a late round pick, and they're sticking by him. You know, to me, that's what I want my culture to be. Because, that's a big thing with Belichick that Kyle Sloter said, if you missed that interview. Belichick gets a lot of hate for the first rounders that bust. But it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, those seasons where he had first rounders that bust and they still won the Super Bowl, it's because he plays the best players. I like when coaches aren't afraid to just play the best damn players and put them on the field and let them work. That's my favorite. So, putting the best guys out there, regardless of draft position, all that, love that. Takeover is asking my starting 5 at O-line. So I would have Alaric at left guard. It sounds like Ankrum's playing left guard now. I thought it was going to be Avila. So I guess I'll have Ankrum at left guard. Center would be Coleman Shelton, but I think they're going to play Brian Allen. Avila at right guard, and then Rob Havenstein at right tackle. And I understand there are going to be people like, Jake, what the hell? Where is Logan Bruss? Where is Joe Nopum? This isn't acceptable. And I'll just say, look, you're saying you don't trust the offensive line. You're saying they're not very deep. And then we're talking about 2 potential starting offensive linemen that aren't even in the lineup. And that's a good thing. And this is what I kind of go back to for, people that don't think this offensive line's any good. I think you're getting lost too much in last year's sauce. Last year, they had a lot of injuries, a bevy of them. They could never stay healthy. They couldn't gel. That's the thing. Like, it doesn't even matter. Okay, they have one injury. Okay, I still need the offensive line to gel, guys. It's a unit. What did I say last year? What was the big thing I said last year in almost every instance of JE Live post and pregame? I said the offensive line is like a chain, okay? They all start off as metal. But when you replace one of them with a lesser talented offensive lineman, to paper and then macaroni, and guess what, if you have a chain of metal, you know, attached to macaroni or paper, it's not going to be a conducive chain, no? And so that's the thing. So when you start putting, you know, Jeremiah Colon, who is the paper chain, in the middle of the damn thing, it implodes, it collapses. It's not a chain anymore. You know, and so that is the big thing here. And so when I look at this offensive line and I see that they have actual depth for the first time in a minute, I'm feeling pretty good about it. That's why the offensive line doesn't worry me. And Joseph Noteboom, you know, Pepe is saying Joseph Noteboom is mid at left tackle, but a good guard. Well, now imagine having him coming off the bench. See, reset it. If you think he's a mid-starting left tackle, what do you think he is as a backup left tackle? Probably one of the best in the league, no? And that's the beauty of it. So if you could have a lot of these guys like big names, like, and big names in Rams media, we're not talking about, like, you know, Logan Bruss isn't a household name yet. Maybe for Rams fans, but not for everyone else. But you look at Logan Bruss and you're like, that guy is my 7th offensive lineman. It's not bad depth. I mean, you look at the offensive line, okay? Alec Jackson, behind him is Joe Noteboom and A.J. Curry. That's really good. Is there a superstar in that crop? No, but that's really good. You have 2 starting caliber tackles in that depth chart. And then you look at Avila at left guard or right guard, whatever. Avila, okay? Zach Thomas, Coleman Shelton can play guard. You know, Brian Allen, Logan Bruss, and then Tremaine Ankrum. And 2 of those guys are going to start. And then center, Brian Allen, Coleman Shelton, and we're hearing some good things about Mike McAllister, the UDFA, who's really turned heads. Warren McClendon is still there, guys. He's back. So I actually really do like the offensive line. I think it's unproven, you know, deep down the rotation, but I actually really do like it. I like what we're seeing. The running backs seem good. I mean, you got Cam Akers, Kyren Williams, Royce Freeman, Ronnie Rivers, and Zach Evans. That's a good running back room. Receivers seem fine. You know, we talked about that. I just think that, you know, like tight end seems like one area where people are a little concerned of. And fine, I'll give you that. Tyler Higbee and Bryson Hopkins are your 2 guys, and then Hunter Long's on the physically unable to perform list. Davis Allen's not really practicing. Then they have Christian Sims, Nikola Kalinick, and then they just added what's his face, Cameron McDonald. So, you know, Alex says people complain that we had no O-line last year, even though we did. They all just got hurt, but now we have way more quality on the line. So much more players like Lance and our make the team. Yeah, exactly. And there's still people upset about that. It's like, how do you not play Lance? Instead of thinking that Sean McVay is making a poor decision in not playing Lance, maybe look at the fact that the team is bigger. The team is more developed. The team is deeper now, where a Lance McCutcheon, who may have made the roster last year, won't even come close to sniffing the roster this year unless they keep 8 receivers, which they're not doing. They're not doing that. No chance are they doing that. What do I think Tutu Atwell's ceiling is? I think it's going to be similar to Marquise Brown. I think we're looking at like Marquise Brown level, which, by the way, is really good. Like, I think his ceiling, you know, is over 1,000-yard receiver, 10 touchdowns. Like, I think that's his absolute ceiling, which is a really good player. He also looks bigger. And I know it sounds kind of weird because, like, it's Tutu Atwell. Guy's small, but no, he looks more filled out. Tutu Himwell. That's funny. Who has a better year, Van Jefferson or Tutu Atwell? That is a good question. I'm going to be safe here and say Van. But if Tutu surpasses Van in a couple of years, I won't be surprised. I like them both, though. And I think Van has some big time potential too. Everyone kind of dismisses his 800-yard season his second year as the fourth receiver, fifth option, because last year he was hurt the majority of it, and then he didn't finish the season off with big stats. But if he plays the whole season, he's a 1,000-yard receiver, I think. Van is just too old for you. I mean, Van's 27 years old. He's right in his prime. And, contract negotiations go into that. 27's not old. Like, if you sign to a 4-year deal and he leaves at 31 and moves on to another team, that's not bad. I mean, Ben Skoronek's 26. And we look at him as this young gun. Skowronek is older because he hasn't really done anything. We might like him, but 26 years old, But that's not even old, though. Again, Nakua's 23, so I guess based on that, he would be old. Demarcus Robinson's 28. I think if anything, it just kind of goes to show you this is a more veteran crop of talent. What I think is being lost on people is Tyler Johnson's 24, though. Cooper Kupp's 30. And Tutu Atwell is the same age as Puka Nacua, going into his third season in the NFL. Yeah, Tyler Johnson is young. It's why I think that they do end up keeping him. Big reason. Guys, be sure to hit the thumbs up, like button. We got 48 people. So let's see if we can get up to 100. That would be sick if we could. That would be really sick. Alex, I don't want to hear people say protect Stafford, but then complain when Lance gets cut in favor of carrying more offensive line going into the season. I like Lance, but not any more than other receivers we got. I'm with you. Definitely with you. They're not keeping 8 wide receivers. It's not going to happen. Brian, that's big words there. I was at training camp. I'm going to make the call. Jason Taylor II was an absolute beast at practice, throwing people around. He stands out big time, starting safety midseason. Can you imagine that? If the Rams found another starting safety in the freaking 6th round. My God. I've only been hearing, or was he a 7th rounder? I think he was a 7th, actually. No, he might have been 6th. I don't even remember. He was a late round pick. 6th and 7th rounders always, I kind of blend them by accident. I do know Jordan Fuller was a 6th, not a 7th, but Lance didn't. Here's my thing, okay? This is my. You're welcome, Brett. Here's my thing, okay? No disrespect. I do like Lance McCutcheon. He is a fan favorite because of his preseason. We get a little attached to preseason. I'm getting very excited for preseason, but I think over the years, this is my 7th year covering this team. I think as over the years, I've started to realize that while preseason's fun and everything, you can't put too much stock into it. And that's the thing, is that think about guys in the past who we've made excuses for, like, oh, could you imagine if he just got a chance? And I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. I mean, Paul McRoberts, Nelson Spruce, Jalen Green, I believe, was one of them. What's his name? Bradley Marquez, Kaderol Hodge. There's just so many guys. There's so many. Lance McCutcheon. We get really emotional about how we felt in that moment during preseason when Lance McCutcheon's catching 2 touchdowns, and we remember how we felt in that moment because there's nothing else going on during preseason. Besides baseball, NBA's off, NHL's off. So I think we really attach ourselves to preseason, and it's why I think these guys kind of have this everlasting value when in reality, it's the sad truth is they're kind of a dime a dozen in the NFL. It's why you can't be too attached to some of these guys. It's why while there are some studs, guys like Russell Wilson that come out of nowhere and they end up becoming, Hall of Fame quarterbacks through preseason as their start. There are other guys that, kind of get pass after pass by the fan base, like a Lance McCutcheon, like a Jacob Harris, where it's like, yeah, they had a good preseason, but, there are more talents out there. This is the NFL. This is the cream of the crop when it comes to football. And so, it's unfortunate to think this way because I do love everyone getting their opportunity. Don't get me wrong. I am pro player, and I do believe that there are instances where coaches do miss on players. No doubt about it. But the Rams have kept every one of those type of guys that have been clamored for. Paul McRoberts has played in an NFL game, beyond preseason. I mean, Lance McCutcheon got a shot last year. As porous and as bad as the offense was last year, guys, Lance McCutcheon didn't do anything. And so, when you start out 2 years into covering a team, 3 years, whatever, and you're learning on things, 7 years, go by. It's now 4 years later, and you're kind of starting to see the pattern like, hey, man, maybe I could be better in that area. And I do believe in growth, and I believe in evolution, and I think that, as far as my mindset watching football and evaluating it, I've evolved in a sense that I see that now. I don't easily get caught up into the emotions like I used to. Because before, I was advocating for Lance McCutcheon, but if you go back and you look at some of the videos, I was saying Lance McCutcheon's going to push Ben Skoranek, and I don't know. I feel like this year I feel pretty good about it. That's why Puka Nacua, I came in with kind of a more realist, pessimistic, I guess, attitude. It's not that I dislike him. It's just like I've seen this movie before. I know Sean McVay doesn't play players during play rookies normally on the offensive side. But hey, hearing that he's fighting for that third spot shows I could be wrong. But for every one of those, there's also a Lance McCutcheon who, people swore was going to be a game breaker, an impact player, then this steal, and then the NFL season rolls along and he can't get on the field, and when he's on the field, he doesn't get the ball, he drops the ball, doesn't, it's hard for him to get off the line of scrimmage against press, just things like that. And it's like, you just kind of get reminded, like, it's not as simple as this guy does well in preseason, let's move him up to the major leagues. It's not as simple as that. And I think that's something that kind of took me a while to realize, like, to kind of go from the thought process of, let's be honest here, Nelson Spruce, he could be a star. He's not ever going to be a star. He was never going to be a star. His skill set was nice. He was good enough to make plays against, third string guys in preseason. But at the end of the day, and look, there are other guys that translate from preseason to the NFL, yes. but not every single person is what I'm saying. Because this is a dangerous thing. I'm not trying to discredit anybody's preseason production. I mean, one of my good friends in the industry, Kyle Sloter, is one of the best preseason quarterbacks of all time. So I'm not trying to discredit preseason value. But what I am trying to say is we got to be a little bit more realistic. And that's why when people are like, how do you not have Lance McCutcheon making the team? I'm like, well, look, is he making the team over Cooper Kupp? No. Van Jefferson? No. Tutu Atwell? No. Puka Nacua? No. Ben Skoranek? No. Okay, that's 5 guys that have already made the roster based on what you just told me. So Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell, Ben Skoranek, and Puka Nacua. 5. That puts him at 6. Is he making the roster over Demarcus Robinson? No. Tyler Johnson? No. So that's 7 guys. So he would be the 8th guy. And that's assuming he is the 8th guy. Maybe there's another guy they like. Maybe they like Xavier Jones more. I don't know. Xavier Smith. Not Xavier Jones. Xavier Smith. And that's the truth about it. Is that it's not to be a jerk about it. It's not to like, okay, my take is better than yours. It's just like the realist view. Like Austin Trammell. Like he had a good preseason last year. People didn't talk about him. He didn't make the roster. Like part of me kind of believes he has maybe just as good of a shot, if not a better shot, of making the roster over Lance McCutcheon. Because do they need another Lance McCutcheon? Do they need another, receiver on the boundary? Or do they need a receiver that can help more on special teams, which is what Austin Trammell will do? Like, in my opinion, Trammell could help you more in the receiving game or the return game and just the special teams game in general as a gunner than Lance McCutcheon could. And so for that reason, I think it's hit or miss there at 8. But you're not going to keep 8 receivers. You can't keep 8 receivers in this league. You just can't. You need too many guys. Offensive line after last year, how many offensive linemen are they keeping? Joe Noteboom, Alaric Jackson, A.J. Arcuri. That's 3 tackles at left tackle. Avila, Ankrum, Brian Allen, Coleman Shelton, Zach Thomas, Rob Havenstein, Warren McClendon. That's 10 guys. So now do they keep Sean McGinn? Do they keep Mike McAllister? Do they keep Grant Miller? I don't know. But right then and there, that's 10 guys. Oh, I forgot about Logan Bruss. So that's 11 guys. So Logan Bruss makes it 11 offensive linemen. You can't keep 11 offensive linemen and in the same breath say you're going to keep 8 receivers. They don't do that. So, I mean, honestly, I think they're going to keep Kupp, Van, Tutu, Puka, DeMarcus, Skoranek, and Tyler Johnson. I think they keep 7 receivers, and if they don't keep 7, I think they try to get Tyler Johnson back on the practice squad, and they'll keep 6. So, the punt returner right now, they're doing a lot of work on that. A lot of guys are working out for that. They're trying out Xavier Smith. They're trying out Austin Trammell. They're trying out Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, and they're trying out Kyren Williams. So we'll see. I mean, and that's another thing. Xavier Smith looks like the best returner in the league in preseason and training camp. Are you really not going to keep him? No, like you'll keep him. That's the thing that's important to realize here is that you're not going to keep 8 receivers, but at the same time, if Xavier Smith shows out or whatever, Austin Trammell, you'll keep him and maybe trade one of them. And that's another thing. Like if Skoranek doesn't make the team, maybe you go and you trade him, something like that. You trade him to the Minnesota Vikings or something. I don't know. It's definitely interesting. Ben might move to tight end. I could definitely see that. He's kind of looked at. Well, and that's another thing they could do, like fudging the numbers. They could fudge the numbers essentially and just view Skoranek as a tight end / fullback, and then they feel better about keeping X amount of receivers. So I could see them go that route. Alex, Lance is Nelson Spruce 2.0. I'll admit I hopped on the Spruce train hardcore back then, and it's hard when you have players like that, but it's more likely he fades away than he's a superstar. Exactly. You know, it's sad. I really like Nelson Spurs, but you don't want to get lost in the sauce. You don't want to get like got, so to speak. And that's really that. I mean, we've all kind of been that way, but I feel like more and more and more over time, I've gotten, you know, the hang of, okay, maybe I'm a little overzealous with this. Maybe let's calm down. Let's pump the brakes a tad, you know? And so I think that's real. Mark Xavier says, I like to see more Benny go at fullback. Same here. Really interested to see how the edge rushers work out. That's a really interesting one because with Ngakoue signing, and I have a feeling they were interested in him. I didn't get any news on that, but I do have a feeling they were interested in him. You have Byron Young, you got Mike Hoyt, you got Keir Thomas, Daniel Hardy. Mathis goes down with an injury, but you do have him. We haven't heard anything about Nick Hampton, Van Valkenburg, and that's it. So you got 7 guys fighting for spots to rush the passer. Van Valkenburg's probably not going to make it. O'Shawn might not make it. So let's say O'Shawn goes on the practice squad. Then you have Byron, Hoyt, Thomas, Hardy, and Hampton. That's 5. If they don't feel good enough, I could see them going out and getting a vet. But it just like the timing of what's his face getting, you know, picked up. But they've already decided they want to roll with the young guys. So we'll see what ends up happening. Witherspoon looks good, though, in camp is what I'm hearing. To the shock of not me. I was very excited about that move. Guys, be sure to hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Also known as the like button on YouTube. Trying to get to 100. Trying to get to 100. Mentally, Puka is like Cup light. That is what is getting him on the field, even if physically Puka is more like Woods. Yeah. I mean, I've heard that. So, yeah, I've definitely heard that before. Also, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to follow myself and Gary Sheffield Jr. over on Kick. The reason being, we're giving away a jersey. And if you follow me, I'm going to be doing, and I can only do them on Kick. Let me explain this right now. I will get copyright struck if I do any more film breakdowns on YouTube. That, I mean, it's full stop. They're getting tougher. They're getting more, they're cracking down. So if you want film breakdowns, I will be doing them on kick.com this year. I'm planning on doing one this week in some capacity. I want to do one on Jacoby Durant and go through his Rams tape. So maybe we'll do somebody else, maybe Kyren Williams, Cam Akers, somebody like that. But either way, I plan on doing it this week, but you got to be over there in order to watch it, because I can't unfortunately put it on YouTube. I can't even put the live stream after the fact. I can't put it into a video or clip it because I'll get copyright struck. So Tomlinson is 100% making the cut. I would be absolutely stunned if he doesn't. Mark Xavier, I agree. I think Jacoby Durant is going to be, I think he's a special dude. I think he's a secret superstar waiting. And I don't say that lightly. I don't just call people superstars. Like, Jacoby Durant has superstar written literally all over him. And I stand by that. And so in a little bit here, I am going to be pivoting over to kick.com. I did want to go I just want to go live with you guys for an hour or so. So throw me your questions now. Hit that like button. Go follow on Kick if you haven't already. And we'll wrap up this show by just answering questions at this point. Thank you, Lord Coop, for the follow. Got 317 over on Kick platform. while I game on there predominantly, I also basically I'll simulcast every JE live on there. And in addition to that, I'll do exclusive film breakdowns. So getting a lot of stuff over on Kick. I was confused why DK was on the field over him when Durant got back from injury. I'll tell you right now, I'm either going to be really, really right and Darion Kendrick is not going to be that great and I just never understood as to why he was playing, or I'm going to be really wrong and Darion Kendrick is going to be really good and the coaches were always right. Either way, I don't think there's in the middle. I think he either takes a massive step forward or a massive leap back. I don't know, Edwin. I think JT could play. It sounded like Pat McAfee was saying that it's getting better over there, but I don't know. Brian says Byron Young is a specimen. Yeah, Byron Young is a speedster. I'm excited to see him. Kobe and Bobby dominating interior O-line drills. Like to see that. Beverly, that's a great question. I think the D line is going to be pretty darn good because first off, Aaron Donald makes everyone better. But Kobe Turner has this nose for the football. He can force some fumbles. He can be, kind of a bear claw, if you will. And then Bobby Brown is that guy in the interior where, I mean, he can rush right up the gut. He can still make an impact. So, that's what I'll say. Who would win in a winner takes all 2018 Rams or 2021 Rams? I will say this now. I think the 2021 Rams win because the 2018 Rams do not have a healthy Todd Gurley. They have a limited Todd Gurley. Jared Goff isn't what Matthew Stafford is, and I think Jared Goff at that point in the season wasn't Jared Goff earlier in the season. So if we're talking about the Super Bowl champion teams, 2021 Rams, I think would win. I just could see it now. Goff would struggle against Von Miller, AD, Jalen Ram. It would be a problem. So I'm gonna roll with Stafford. How big a loss will Jalen Ramsey be versus Seattle and Metcalf? I mean, he's going to be a big loss no matter what team they're facing. I do think Metcalf's getting a little overrated. Before this year, Metcalf hadn't really had this success against the Rams. Mind you, Darius Williams shut him down in the playoffs. So it's one of those things where I think Metcalf, it's recency bias because everyone's looking at what he did in those two games last year. He won the game, had the game-winning touchdown, at SoFi. In reality, the Rams have kept Metcalf in check for the most part, and I think that kind of goes, kind of lost. It gets kind of lost in translation, but they really have. Yeah, Cup wouldn't be Cup right now with Goff. If I could sign a free agent on offense and defense, who am I picking? I have to look at the free agent list. Let's see. That's a good question. So what do we have for free agents? Let's see here. Oh, I didn't know the Cardinals signed Marlon Mack. I just saw that. Okay. Free agents. We'll do offense. UFA. Okay. Available. Who would I sign? I mean, if I could sign anybody, I'd probably go after... Wait, he's a free... What? No. Yeah, I was going to say that's not correct. There's no way that's correct. Yeah, okay. Yeah, not correct. All right. So I think I would go after Dalton Reisner. That's who I think I would sign. The 28-year-old guard. I would sign Dalton Reisner. I think honorable mention goes to Kareem Hunt. I don't think he's a need, but yeah, Dalton Reisner. And then defense. And guys, be sure you're hitting that like button. It helps out the channel. If you're still in here, if you are a viewer in here, hit the like button. Because clearly you like it enough to be in here. Okay, let's see. We got defense. I'm looking at these guys right now. Is there anybody worth signing? Here's the thing. As much as I'd like to say John Johnson, he's not a need right now. Like, I want to see these safeties go at it. I want to see them fight for that job. It's the same thing why I wouldn't say Josh Jones. I'm like really interested in that safety battle. So I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with somebody that you might not see coming. I'm going to go with... where'd he go? I'm going to go with Zach Cunningham. I guess he's a free agent based on what I'm seeing here. I didn't know that. He is a free agent. Yeah, I'm going to go with Zach Cunningham here. I like Cunningham as the backup for Ernest Jones. Since they're going to play, you know, predominantly one linebacker and play nickel. So I'll say Zach Cunningham, athleticism, good tackler. Give me Zach Cunningham as the backup. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, Miles Jack is a free agent. I'd take Miles Jack. Never mind. I'll take Miles Jack. I like Cunningham, but... I think Miles Jack should be signed, though. Why isn't he signed? Am I missing something? Did he retire? Why is he available? Akeem Hicks is also available too. I agree with that. and give it time. I mean, if they find that these youth guys, this is a good football team, but the youth guys are hurting them, they'll go out and get veterans. So it'll be all good. Javon Perry, thank you so much for the donation there. $5. Thank you. What if we signed Tom Brady after he left New England? How many Super Bowls would we have won? That's a good question. Well, let's think about it. So Tom Brady, the year he won the Super Bowl was the year the Rams, let's see here. They had Jared Goff and John Wolford. So, what was the big issue in 2020 with the Rams? I mean, when I look at them, the biggest issue in 2020 with the Rams, offensive line wasn't great. I mean, it was like the best defense in the league. Run game was actually pretty solid. I believe they were top 10 total. They dealt with injury issues with Kupp. All right. Well, let me ask you this. So you're asking me, Javon, if Tom Brady essentially, how many Super Bowls does he win? Let me ask you this, chat, and Javon. Does Tom Brady win a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams in 2020? The Rams lost a closer game than shown to the Packers in the divisional round of the NFC playoffs. So, does Tom Brady win that game in the cold in Lambeau with no Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson? Yeah, I mean, that was the year, I believe so. No. The year the Rams went to the divisional round of the playoffs was the year Tom Brady won the Super Bowl. So, would Tom Brady still win the Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams, who had the best defense in the league? The problem is, I feel like Jared Goff played well in that game. The O-line was not good at the end. Bobby Evans got him killed. Yeah, Brady, no doubt about it, Brady wins was the year Stafford won, in my opinion. I think he definitely wins that Super Bowl. This past year, I don't think he wins. Man. I'm going to say... I mean, because if Brady's not in Tampa, all right, let's dive into this. I like this hypothetical. So 2020 NFL season, right? Let's look at the standings. So if the standings are, if Brady isn't on the Buccaneers, they don't go 11-5. They don't make the playoffs. So since they don't make the playoffs, what happens? How does history change? Well, let's look. So in the NFC, the Saints still won the division. The Packers still won their division. So who would be next up? It would be either the Chicago Bears or the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I'm going to say it's probably the Chicago Bears at this point. And if that's the case, then let's look at the playoffs here. So we got the buys went to Green Bay and New Orleans. That doesn't change. Number 3 was Seattle. Number 4 was Washington. Number 5 was Tampa. So Tampa wouldn't be in there. So number 5 would be the Rams before we even add Tom Brady in. 6 would be Chicago made it. Okay, so Chicago made it. So 6 would be Chicago. 7 would be the Cardinals. So if Tom Brady is on the Rams in 2020, then, I mean, I don't think the Rams are playing Seattle on the road. So I'm going to say the Rams are the 1 or the 2 seed. But I'm going to say they're the 1 seed. I'll say that the Rams are the 1 seed with Tom Brady. Green Bay is the 2. New Orleans is the 3. Number 4 is Washington. 5 is Chicago. 6 is who would 6 be? Oh, 5 is Seattle. 6 is Chicago. 7 is Arizona. So if we're doing that, then the Rams would play the winner of Chicago and New Orleans. And so New Orleans would win. And then Green Bay would play the winner of, let's see, Washington versus Seattle. And I think Seattle probably wins that game. And then the winner between those two. So let's see. Oh, never mind. They're the 1 seeded bye. The Rams are the only one who gets a bye. So they would play. Okay, we got it. So then Tom Brady Rams take on the number 3 Saints. So Rams Saints rematch 2 years later. Or 1 year later, I guess, because it happened in 2019. Rams Saints rematch, and then the Packers would likely go up against the let's see, who would it be? Oh, Seattle. So then we get Seattle and Green Bay taking on Seattle versus Green Bay, and the Rams taking on the Saints. The Rams would beat the Saints. Green Bay would beat Seattle. And then we get Rams, Green Bay, NFC Championship, in which I think the Rams with Tom Brady win that. And then I think Tom Brady's Rams go to Raymond James Stadium and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs with no offensive line. The Rams are an even better defense than Tampa. And I think it's pretty much the same outcome. So, yes, Tom Brady would have won 2 Super Bowls in LA. I believe that. To answer your question, I had to think about that, and then I had to break it all down. How would they have moved the Goff contract? I don't really know how that would have worked. Like, does he go to the Patriots and assign and trade? Maybe. Well, let me just ask you this. The Patriots go 7-9 that season. If they acquire Jared Goff, are the Patriots in the playoffs? Because I'm going to say they are. I'm going to say the Patriots go to the playoffs with Jared Goff. That's the funny thing. Why are we talking about the past? Come on, man. It's JE Live. We talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. If I'm asked about anything, I'll discuss it. Can we get those likes up to 100 by chance? 73? I know you guys can do it. Oh, that's another thing. We can talk about if I get a super chat, you best believe if you have a question, I don't care what it is, I am going to answer it to the best of my ability. If you're donating to my channel, yes, I'm definitely going to give you the time of day. I'm still going to try to give everyone the time of day in our comment section, you know, as long as I can, as long as time permits and everything. But like, that's another thing. Like, Javon was literally asking a question that, you know, right after Javon donated money to ask it. So it's like, you know, but everyone's free to, it doesn't have to be about football either. Starting DBs, I would say right now, Darion Kendrick, Ahkello Witherspoon, Jacoby Durant in the slot, and then you got your safeties. It is Jordan Fuller, Quentin Lake, and Russ Yeast. And, I mean, Jason Taylor II is a name to look out for, but that's a pretty good safety room right now. Competitive. Here's what I can't wait for, guys. People who have Madden to go buy Madden, you know, and their horrible ratings, and to start coming at you and I because we think so-and-so is good. It's like, well, Madden has them as a 66. All right, Madden doesn't know how to rate players. Like, why are we even talking about, you know? So just get ready for that. It is that type of season. I think Julio is done, yes. I don't think Julio's making a comeback. The injuries got to him. I don't see it. Spidey, I'll say this. Statistically, is Patrick Mahomes, his legacy worse if he loses to the Rams? And still beat. Okay, so you're asking if 2-2. No. And the reason I'll say that is because I would sound like the biggest hypocrite if I said yes. I believe that, you know, for instance, LeBron James has been in 10 finals. He's 4-6. Everyone says 4-6 and all that. The guy's won 4 titles, and the 10 is actually a flex. I mean, here's what I would ask you: is it better to be undefeated in the championship, in the title game, and not be in it as much as another person than it is to be in it a lot and not be undefeated? Because that's where I always push back and say I would rather just live in the title game and win with some losses than only win and not be in it as much. What shows more dominance, you know? That's my thing. That like, I've always said that about LeBron James versus, you know, Jordan, and I always get pushback. Like, we give credit for Jordan 6-0, and yes, that's great and all. But at the same time, like, we trash LeBron because he's lost 6 times in the finals, but he's also won 4 times, and he's been in the final. He was literally in the finals for like a decade. I mean, I don't understand it. Like, I think that's a great question, but like, it just goes to my point. Like, Patrick Mahomes is in 4 Super Bowls, or would you rather be in 3 Super Bowls and be 2-1? I would personally rather be 2-2. But it's a good question. I would rather be in the, because also another thing, if you've won 2 and you've lost 2, it goes to show you it's kind of a coin flip winning the Super Bowl, right? It's hard to do. And don't get me wrong, winning Super Bowls is everything. But I think far too often we underrate how hard it is to truly win. And just because somebody wins the Super Bowl does not mean they're the best team. You cannot sit there and tell me the New England Patriots, who were undefeated, were not a better team than the Giants, who beat them in the Super Bowl 9-7 and, you know, limped into the playoffs. You can't sit there and tell me they were better because of one game. If they played that in a series, the Patriots probably win 8 out of 10 times, and I'm not a Patriots fan. But here's the thing. When it mattered the most, they were able to make a few more plays and win that one game on that night. I mean, we've heard about it. We've seen it. Sports, guys will have a great night. Guys will have a poor night. It's a little bit less bragging rights. It's a little bit different when you're talking about like sports that have a series versus a one-off. Like, is it harder to win a Super Bowl? Yes. Like, it's harder to win a Super Bowl than win 4 games in a 7-game series, in my opinion. I think it's harder to win a Super Bowl than the Stanley Cup, the NBA Finals, and the World Series. But at the same time, it also kind of takes away from it a little bit, because in that moment, like, you were just better on that night. It doesn't make you the better team. What I will say is the Rams team that beat the Bengals were the better team. They were the best team in the league. It doesn't always work that way, though. So if you've already shown that you can win a Super Bowl, then those questions go out the window. It's not a knock on you. If you're 0-2 in the Super Bowl, like, okay, that sucks and all, but you went there twice. You finished runner-up. It's still good. So, you know, that's all I'll say in regards to that. Exactly. That's the funny thing. It's almost better to lose in the first round of the playoffs than it is to lose in the championship game. That's unbelievable logic, but it's true. I mean, that's how people look at things nowadays. So I don't know. I did see Sean McVay did just say Cooper Kupp is still day to day. Robert Rochelle had an ankle issue pop up, so didn't finish the day per McVay. Aaron Donald notes Ernest Brown the fourth as a younger interior defensive line who has been getting way more reps alongside him. Reiterates there's a long way to go for that group, as well as very young outside linebackers, but guys are working and learning every day. So interesting stuff there. Jordan Rodriguez, a few of her tweets. Good day for Quentin Lake. Pass breakup earlier today and a takeaway on a Ripien ball just now. So sounds like Quentin Lake had a good day. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I mean, we'll find out more. Increased opportunities for Tomlinson today. Kendrick still sidelined with the hamstring. Yeah. So that's what we got. All right, guys. So I am going to head on over to kick.com. If you want to, head on over with me and join me. I'm going to be playing some games. I'll have Gary Sheffield Jr. on with Discord. So, we'll chat it up as well. He's playing MLB The Show right now. We normally, do that. So if you want to hang out with us, ask questions. Like, the questions don't stop. Whether it's JE Live or I'm playing games over on Kick with JE Gaming, I still answer questions just like I do now. So that's the goal there. Do me a favor. Go follow me over there. We're going to have, exclusive breakdowns, like film breakdowns over there. I just can't do them on YouTube because of copyright. But, I appreciate y'all. And you guys be good people. Hopefully I see you over on Kick in a little bit. Later, folks. Have a good night.